He's imposing a 25% tariff on all imports from Mexico, Canada, an extra 10% from China. And look at the reaction on the big board today. All right. So the Dow at the moment is down 1.4%. You add that to yesterday, and you're about 2.8% off in 2 days of trading. The NASDAQ is down even more. It's about 3.6% overall in just 2 days now.
Take this Ram. This is a heavy-duty Ram truck built in Mexico. $91,000 is what the sticker is right now. Put the tariff on there, $120,000. Can you sell it, David Keller?
No, that Ram will not sell for that amount. Yeah.
You're worried.
Yeah, I'm very concerned.
As expected, the disastrous effects of Trump's tariffs and subsequent trade war are already being felt across the economy, and even Fox News is struggling to sugarcoat them.
It's sold order for a customer, $80,000 truck. It's $100,000 now, so he's not going to buy the truck. It's going to sit on my lot at the higher interest rates we're paying right now for floor plan, and nobody's going to buy the truck because it just had a $20,000 price increase. Building in the United States is great. I think enhancing the participation from the other countries on the other things, but this is pretty radical.
Let me ask you this, okay?
Yes.
How many Dodge Rams do you see driving around Europe? Okay. How many Dodge Rams do you see driving around India? I mean, not many, I bet. Why? Because they don't buy our cars. And that's what President Trump is trying to change. Maybe Dodge should start building them here and selling them here.
You can just tell by Maria Bartiromo's reaction that she completely ignored the central component of her network's own reporting about how the tariffs are impacting consumers, as well as thousands of dealerships across the country. And more importantly, the thousands of people working at the dealerships who need that job to survive. But don't you worry. Fox News also has a so-called money-saving solution to offset the price hikes from these new tariffs.
Is part of it just investing in smaller farms, encouraging that?
I think the silver lining in all of this is how do we, in our backyards, we've got chickens too in our backyard, how do we solve for something like this? And people are sort of looking around thinking, wow, well, maybe I could get a chicken in my backyard. And it's awesome. I agree with you.
I think it will be interesting to see when average Americans feel it in their pocketbook. And I'll look forward to tonight, our president reassuring us that any pain is short-lived.
These responses to the egg prices rising are so absurd and out of touch. Talking about, well, you can just have a chicken in your backyard, start your own local farm, and that way you can have eggs, that you make, right? You don't have to go through anybody. Excuse me? A lot of people don't even have a backyard. And you know how much it costs just to have chickens, right, and keep up with their health and everything that you need surrounding them in your backyard? It's not reasonable whatsoever, especially for people who legitimately struggle to put food on the table and just survive. The other thing, they're talking about, they understand that this period is only for a short term. It's only a short-term period because in the end, it's going to lead to a long-term economic success. No, it's not. It's not. You're just talking ridiculously, right? There's no truth in that statement whatsoever. But it's not just the overpaid hosts, right, is what I'm trying to say, at Fox News, who are demanding regular people be thankful for the economic chaos that we're going to experience.
And if I have to pay a little bit more for something, I'm all for it to get America right again, to start whittling down this $36.5 billion or trillion dollars worth of debt that we have that's unsustainable.
Do you think that a lot of your constituents feel the same way? They're willing to pay a little bit more?
Well, I think so. I mean, look, we have lived under the oppression of Joe Biden's hyperinflation for some years.
Am I worried that it could impact us? Of course. As American people ready to get the country back on track and do what it needs to, or do what it takes to make that happen, absolutely. We're going to have to adjust some prices for it. But the president is tired of people taking advantage of our country.
And my goal is that these tariffs don't end up with higher prices.
And Americans are actually excited. President Trump is turning our country around. He is reversing the damage caused by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the deranged Democrats. I expect Americans will notice the new direction of the nation when we hear from our commander-in-chief this evening. In his first joint address since returning to the White House, President Trump's message to the American people will be clear. America is back.
Notice the Republicans' response to the backlash from the tariffs is framed in a way that shields them from criticism, because they're talking about, we have to really, crack down on this massive debt that we have. So yeah, I'm fine with paying, higher prices. And I think my constituents are willing to do this. No, they're not. No, when they voted for Donald Trump, one of the things they asked, at least some people that voted for Donald Trump, they wanted to reduce the prices, right? With groceries. They wanted to make sure that they were able to provide for their family in a better way. They did not want the prices to go up. Okay? And it's interesting that another Republican has the audacity to say Donald Trump is tired of the country being taken advantage of. Interesting. Because he has no problem taking advantage of the people who voted for him and every other average American who's affected by these things. Just Americans in general, right? But especially the lower and middle class. We are in really, really unfortunate times, and I feel like that's the understatement of the year right now.
Starting to think about maybe some of those veterans who worked for the federal government and maybe what the administration can do to at least help salvage their lives?
Well, as you know, we care about veterans tremendously. I mean, that's something the president has always cared about. Anybody in blue, anybody that serves this country. But at the same time, we have taxpayer dollars. We have a fiscal responsibility to use taxpayer dollars to pay people that actually work. That doesn't mean that we forget our veterans by any means. We are going to care for them in the right way, but perhaps they're not fit to have a job at this moment or not willing to come to work. And we can't, I wouldn't take money from you and pay somebody and say, sorry, they're not going to come to work. It's just not acceptable.
It's very clear that hosts at legacy media networks, elected officials, both parties' donors couldn't care less about the well-being of the average everyday American and improving their material conditions, because all they care about is securing their next paycheck and enriching themselves even more. That's all these people care about. There's so much selfishness, right? So much selfishness in our politics. And there's so much greed that, you will hurt the common man, common woman, so that you can be better off and that you can live lavishly while so many other people, are in desperate needs or are in desperate need of money and healthcare and so on and so forth because of your actions. It is really despicable what we see here in America. For Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.